It's all happening right now in front of our eyes in real time with Bitcoin. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing. Bitcoin, I was looking for it to come and make a peak. And when it fell off of its crest, when it first started falling, I said, oh no, maybe here it is, when it hit 2737. And it started to fall, and it fell down to 1700. I said, oh no, maybe this is it. Maybe it's this peak. But it seems like to me like it wasn't that. It was somehow, it just felt like it was anticlimactic. And then it started to climb back up again. And I knew it was going to start to climb back up again. And I got on here and I did a video on this climb it was going to make back up again. Because I knew it was coming. If you look back in my videos, you'll see that I said it was going to make this climb back up again. But I believe that it's on its way up even higher than ever. There's a mania going on with Bitcoin. And what I'm going to tell you next could possibly make you a fortune, an absolute fortune, if you've got money to invest the proper way. The knowledge of what I'm going to tell you next. And when I tell you, you're going to realize that what I'm saying is probably correct, because it makes sense about what's going to happen with Bitcoin. And this little bit of knowledge might give you information you need to make an awful lot of money, make some of you rich. Now myself, I don't have the money to invest, so if I had the money to invest, it could make me rich too, this knowledge. And I'm giving it away for free. If afterwards some of you get rich from off of the things that I'm saying, send me a Bitcoin or two, or half a Bitcoin, or whatever you can spare. Anyway, what I'm going to tell you is very interesting, and when you see what I'm saying, you'll realize it's true. There's a mania going on here, and the world is flooding it, starting to notice Bitcoin because of the mania going on and the price rise. People that invest money and people that have real money are starting to take notice of Bitcoin, how it's rising, and it's starting to look like a really good investment to them for the first time really ever. Because it's went through its infancy phase, it's went through its phase where it was cutting teeth and so on, and now it's finally starting to stand on its own 2 feet, and it's starting to look like a really good investment, and they're investing big time in it. But here's the thing, and you all don't like to hear a but. I think that Bitcoin is going to go, it's just beginning to go up to what it's going to go to. And the world is just beginning to start to take notice of it. Bitcoin is not in a bubble. Not in a bubble, not even close. There's not enough people that know about Bitcoin. There's not enough people investing in Bitcoin yet for it to be in a bubble. In fact, it's just beginning. It's on the ground floor. What I think is going to happen is, I think that Bitcoin is going to go up to unbelievable high heights, and people are really going to start to notice it, and people are really going to start using it. A lot of people are going to pour into the space. A lot of more companies are going to pour into the space. And because the company that the creators of Bitcoin, because they're not like they're like a ragtag team. I mean, they're like they argue over everything, and they haven't really fixed the real issues. It was the first cryptocurrency, and it has a lot of issues, a lot of problems. It has a lot of transaction problems, scaling issues, and so on. So now what's going to happen when the whole world starts to notice that the price goes way up, and everybody and their dog starts actually grabbing a hold of this thing and starts pushing the price up? It could, honestly, if the world takes to it, it could go up 10 times from what it is right now. Seriously. And it could become an ETF and everything else. So now let's move our minds to that position in the future, right now, to where Bitcoin has become the ETF. Bitcoin has went up to, say, $20,000, and the people are all really starting to use it big time. It's still going to have these scaling issues, except all these people using the network, these new people, say 10 times as many people as on there now, is going to create 10 times the problem with scaling that they're having now. this is a no-brainer. This is what's going to happen. And these people are going to come into Bitcoin. They're going to come into the space because Bitcoin is finally meeting it's finally becoming popular. It's finally becoming the something that everybody wants. And this is what's going to happen. It's a no-brainer at this point. It's something that's been waiting to happen. And everybody should be able to see it right now, but they can't see it. What they can't see is the fact that Bitcoin's going to grow exponentially in the next little bit because of this rise in price. And the rise in price is not going to stop, and that's going to make it all grow all the faster. And it's going to boom and surge. And what's going to happen is tremendous amount of people are going to come on the network, and they're going to exacerbate these scaling issues. And then all of a sudden, the scaling issue is going to become an issue, a real serious issue. And by that time, the price of Bitcoin is going to be really in a bubble. So you've moved yourself ahead to when Bitcoin's $20,000 now. You moved yourself ahead into the future. I don't know how long, maybe 6 months from now. Bitcoin's up to $20,000, okay? And all of a sudden, 10 times as many people pour into the network, and all of a sudden they start to really cause the network to freeze up. It just can't handle all this traffic. And the nodes are getting so that they're just too big to, because of the scaling issues, they're just getting too big to even download. Might take you 5 years to download a node, sort of thing, and what? 10 terabytes of data on a node and stuff like this. And Bitcoin starts to actually freeze up and not really work unless you send huge amounts of money in with your transaction to get it to go through the network. So we've moved ahead to that point in time. And while Bitcoin really isn't a bubble at that point in time, what's going to happen? It'll start to drop. And when it starts to drop, it's going to drop not slowly. It's going to drop very quickly in price. Everyone and their dog then at that point will try to move their Bitcoin through the network, and the network won't be functioning, and it'll jam because everybody will try to sell. And they'll just jam the network, and they won't be able to handle all those millions of transactions that'll be pouring in at once. Because of the scaling issue, they're not capable of handling all that. Bitcoin price will plummet from, say, 20,000 to 19 to 18, 17, 16, and people will be sitting there watching in horror, in absolute shock and horror. Where's all that money going to go? I'm going to tell you exactly where it's going to go. They're not going to be able to pull that money out into U.S. dollars or into the currencies of choice, the yen or whatever. They're not going to be able to, the transfer companies and stuff, it just won't work quick enough for them. There's only one thing for them to do and only one place for them to go. They're going to have to go into the alts. What right now is called the alts. That's what they're going to have to do. When that day does come, when Bitcoin has finally reached, say, $20,000, and now you're picturing in your mind, Bitcoin is crashing from, it really is in a bubble when it gets up around 20,000, 10 times higher than it is now. And Bitcoin's crashing. That's where we're at right now. And all of these people are taking their Bitcoin and they're panicking, and they're making the network freeze, the Bitcoin network freeze. They'll be moving over into the alts. So now you're asking yourself, what'll happen next? Because now the situation I've just laid out for you, if you start to think about it for a little while, you'll realize that that's what's most likely going to happen. This is the situation that this whole thing is headed toward. I'm just looking a little bit in the future, and I'm saying to myself, hey, this is what'll probably happen. This is where it's headed. Bitcoin keeps going up higher and higher and higher, and after a while, they're going to jump in there and make it an exchange-traded fund. That's going to even drive it higher, and then it's going to lead to the network freezing, and then Bitcoin's going to crash down. So now we're to that point. What happens next? Well, the alt currencies are going to get most of the big money that's in Bitcoin. But by that time, it'll be 10 times the money in Bitcoin, 10 times the market cap that it is now. And that's a lot of money. And that'll be pouring into these alt currencies. So it's not just going to drive one alt currency up. Alt currencies are kind of like if you were buying ice cream at Baskin Robbins and they got 6 different good flavors that you like. Like they got strawberry and they got chocolate. Not everybody's going to want chocolate. Now, picture chocolate is the Ethereum. You know, not everybody's going to want chocolate. And then there's strawberry. Say Dash is the strawberry ice cream, and the vanilla ice cream is so they're coming out of the Bitcoin. And they're pouring into these alts, and they're going to drive more than one alt up. Ethereum, they'll drive it to the moon, and they'll drive Litecoin to the moon, and they'll drive Dash to the moon. You know, and Monero, they'll drive it to the moon. All these alts, they're going to drive them to the moon when the money comes out of Bitcoin into these alts. But now all of a sudden, boom, these alts are going to be passing Bitcoin. And one of these alts, probably Ethereum, is going to not be an alt anymore. Bitcoin's going to be the alt. Now, did you hear what I just said? Now it all starts to make sense for you. Bitcoin will be the alt at that point, because the price of Bitcoin will drop down lower than these alts. Even the lesser alts, maybe even Litecoin might pass Bitcoin at that point, because their networks will be up and working good. And the Bitcoin network will be just sitting there all half froze up, because Bitcoin was only ever made to be really a test anyway, and it worked great for the first little while there wasn't that many people on the network. But the whole world's going to come on the Bitcoin network. The whole world. Right now, you probably got 1/10 of the world on it, or maybe 1/20 of the world on it. But when the whole world comes down on top of that thing, I'll explain to you what that's like. It's like they're having a picnic right now, and there's Aunt Martha and there's her daughter-in-law and so on. There's 3 people at the picnic, and they're eating the chicken, and they're all having a good time and everything's working great. They're having their chicken, and they're having their barbecue or whatever they're having at the picnic table, right? All of a sudden, 20 more people show up. Well, all of a sudden, problems emerge, because now there's not enough food to go around. Well, that's the way with Bitcoin right now. They're all sitting at the table having a good time, and everything's going along good because there's only like 3 people at the table. But now when the 20 more people come into the table, all of a sudden they're going to be overwhelmed. And they already admitted they have these scaling issues. Suddenly they're going to be outscaled. And so now the next thing is the money's going to go into the alts. And Bitcoin will become an alt, and these alts will become the #1 currency. Most likely Ethereum. And probably who will be in second place? It's hard to say. It's probably a run-up between maybe 3 or 4 of these other alts that are vying for position right now. I'm going to tell you, Dash looks awfully good. Dash has got all their ducks in a row. They've solved all the issues, the problems that are inherent to Bitcoin. They've solved an awful lot of them. Ethereum looks great, but like I say, Ethereum's probably going to make it as #2. It'll be the #1 coin then. It'll be higher than Bitcoin. So what we're looking at is all that money pouring into these other coins is going to drive these other coins up double, triple, quadruple the price, and the price will already be high when Bitcoin falls. These other alternative currencies. So how can you play this? If what I'm saying is true, you're going to need to play it. Well, the best thing to do is don't panic out of Bitcoin right now. Ride her up. Ride her up, boys. Hang on in there and ride her up, because she's got a long way to go yet. I think this pony's got a long way to go. I think she'll carry you up the mountain a long way. But be careful when she starts to really get in a bubble. You'll know when it really gets in a bubble, because the whole world then will know what Bitcoin is. Like right now, most people don't know what Bitcoin is. But when everybody starts to know what Bitcoin is, that's when you need to start thinking about getting out. When the price of Bitcoin is like enormously high compared to what it is right now, that's when you need to start getting out of Bitcoin and start getting into these alts. Because if I'm right, that's what's going to happen. Then don't be all in Bitcoin. Be partially in the alts at least when this gets ready to happen, and that because these alts are going to ride up and Bitcoin's going to ride down at that point. So anyway, that's what I see happening. And when you look at it, it becomes more and more obvious that this is the direction that we're actually headed in. And so these alts can, I think, if what pans out, what I think is going to plan out, actually happens the way I'm saying that's happening right now, these alts could actually quite literally make you rich. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next article. Bye, guys.